Hello, Beauty News family. Welcome to another podcast. This is a podcast sit-down style video, previously known as Wine Time. So if you would like to get some wine and enjoy a little chit-chat with us, and by little I mean probably feature-length film style, because that's the way it always goes.
That's how it always is, yeah.
Yes. Grab your wine, pause it now, grab your wine, grab your snacks, get cozy. It's pretty cold. If you're in Victoria and you're in lockdown and you're cold and annoyed and bored, we got you, babe. We got you. We get it. So today we are going to be talking about failing brands and suggestions that we would have to, save them, basically. And also some brands that have just sort of fallen out of popularity, I suppose. Or another category that we chose was brands that are popular but annoying. Because they're great. We love them.
Yeah. Because there's some brands out there that are doing gangbusters. They're doing really well, probably in a business sense, but for some reason or another, the beauty community is starting to get a little bit annoyed at them. We thought we would talk about those as well. Okay, before we do get into the discussions about the brands, I do want to point out that we did a poll a little while ago on Instagram asking people sort of brands they're sick of, brands I think are really boring. So that's how we got this list of brands today. We cherry picked from heaps of different brands. So we sort of picked the ones that we thought resonated with us and that we were like, those brands are either failing, have failed, are not as popular as they used to be, or just annoying. Thank you to everyone who made suggestions, and if you're angry that we've picked a brand that you love and that you think is going really well, don't blame us. Don't blame us. Not our fault.
We took this from the community.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
Before we begin this week's episode, we do have a sponsor. Ana Luisa create beautiful jewellery with a focus on being environmentally aware. They are carbon neutral, use recycled materials whenever possible, and create limited batches to help prevent excessive waste. Ana Luisa has a great variety of pieces ranging from earrings, rings, necklaces, and bracelets, plus they have fine jewellery offerings as well. We went ahead and made an order for a few pieces, and I have to commend their shipping. We ordered late on a Wednesday and the package arrived on the Monday. It was a lot quicker than I expected for international shipping. Ana Luisa release new collections every Friday with pieces starting at just $39, plus they offer a 365-day warranty on all of their jewelry pieces. Go to analuisa.com/beautynews and treat yourself and your loved ones. Use our code BEAUTYNEWS to get 10% off. I absolutely recommend them. They're a great brand making beautiful, sustainable jewelry. Go check out analuisa.com/beautynews, code BEAUTYNEWS. analuisa.com/beautynews, code BEAUTYNEWS. So we recently saw the announcement that Coastal Scents was closing down. We're not actually going to talk about them in this video because we thought they'd closed down years ago.
It's not a lie.
When a brand just doesn't release stuff or just has no presence, then they're already basically gone. So, for us...
There's no helping them.
There's no helping them. But that's going to lead into the first couple of brands that we're going to talk about. And these are brands that have closed or are about to close. So first up, we've got Clarisonic. So Clarisonic closed down in September of last year, 2020, and they basically said that they were closing down so that L'Oreal could focus on other brands. They totally got the arse. That brand just got the arse, essentially. Now, I think, for me personally, when I look at Clarisonic closing shop, I'm actually not at all surprised. Their tools, while quite popular amongst the, let's call it like the influencer or beauty community, I feel like they were extremely expensive for the average consumer, and they brought out new tools like every year. I don't know about everyone else, but I'm not going to drop a bomb like that on a new electric beauty tool every year just to upgrade it. It's almost like
especially
buying a new iPhone outright every year.
But the features were pretty much the same. There just might have been we've got an extra setting that no one actually uses anyway. So it was an unnecessary upgrade. Do you have any tips on or any recommendations you would have made for Clarisonic? Because I have a huge one that's like, I have feelings about this.
Okay, I don't actually. I mostly I think the only way they probably could have kept going was to innovate completely new tools, because
which they tried to do. They did have the brush, the foundation brush.
Yes, and that was
average
at best. Yes, but also I think where their business model potentially fell flat was the replaceable brush heads. Now, that you would think that that's a good idea for return customers, and I know people who love their Clarisonic definitely bought more brush heads from them, but companies started creating like compatible brush heads that you could buy cheaper. And Clarisonic, I think they said that you should replace a brush head every 3 months. I don't know anyone who had a Clarisonic that did that. Like, I don't
For
think
me, it's like once a year, if that.
Yeah, even me. Like, I got a 3-pack of brush heads with a Clarisonic, and I still use the same brush heads. To be fair, I use it like once a year when I'm like, oh, this is a thing that I still own. Let me use it. But yeah, I think the process of using it, buying it, spending the money on it, and buying replaceable heads, it's a whole lot of stuff that I think majority of people can't be bothered to do.
No. Yeah, it's expensive and people just don't have the patience for it. Okay, so where I think they should have changed, and they should have done this a few years ago. So, you were saying that they had to innovate and sort of bring out new things, and they were trying to do that, but they're limited with how far they can go. I feel like what they should have done is drop the price, because like you said, there were brands that came out and brought out sort of replicas using similar technology, worked the same way, and were a fraction of the price, like a third of the price, and their brush heads were so much cheaper. So Clarisonic had made their money back from their development and the money they put into Clarisonic. So why not then lower the price to make it accessible to a new audience? But it's not even that I think would have saved them, because that was a fad that no one really sort of carries on. Like, some people still use it today, but it was really popular about 5 years ago, and now people don't really care. I can tell you, Clarisonic had some of the best cleansers that I have ever tried. So I really think they should have pivoted to focusing more on skincare, because they actually had really good skincare that not only worked great on its own, but also with the Clarisonic. But if they were sort of ahead of the time and becoming more of like the drunk elephant before drunk elephant was popular, and L'Oreal has the technology. They have so many skincare brands under their umbrella. They could have done it. So Clarisonic should have moved to skincare, and that would have saved the brand and made people a little bit more interested in the tools. But as the tools alone, no, they had a shelf life for sure.
Yeah.
All right, the next brand that had announced that they were closing their doors, and they did largely say that the pandemic was like the final straw that broke the camel's back, was Becca. Now, they're still going. I think they're officially closing. Is it September this year?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, but they
September
announced it, I think.
Seems to be the month when they just shut down brands. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. They did also release a Pride Month a highlighter. So they're still releasing a few things, but they are wrapping it up later this year. So look, Becca's a funny one, because I think they've evolved into a bit of a monster of a beast that sort of got out of hand. Becca started as an Australian makeup brand that focused on that sort of beachy, just come back from the beach look. So they had the beach tints, which were lip and cheek tints. They had liquid illuminators that were really popular in the makeup artist sort of industry. And they had some more sort of, dewier, sort of natural looking makeup, which is really popular right now. But that
Yes.
sold. So the Australian who owned that sold it to, I think, an American company. And that is what eventually got into like the highlighters and Jaclyn Hill promoting the highlighters, becoming really popular. And then I think what happened was, again, there was another situation where the brand was sold. And I think what they would have done is sold it on the premise that like, we're this massive highlighter company. And
Yeah, and
so
we're making
they just
X amount of money.
Yeah, on this highlighter. And so all they really did throughout the last few years was push highlighters and the same shades of highlighters. So
Oh my
I
God.
am not surprised that they went under. I think the sad thing about it is that their core range, they do have some really nice products. They just never promoted it. So if I had to give a recommendation to Becca, it was to pull back on like pushing the highlighters and the same highlighters. Like that trend is gone, and bring back some of your old classics that are now popular, like the dewy cheeks and the sort of natural skincare. Keep saying skincare, makeup. Just sort of reinvent yourself and focus on marketing those products that were cult products in their own right before the Jaclyn Hill debacle.
Yeah, this is why we're friends, because we actually understand things in a very similar way. So what I put down as like my points for Becca was repetition, repetition, repetition. They just kept creating the same crap over and over and over. And they do say that if you find something that works, replicate it. And that is still really good advice. But it's not something that will like last forever, essentially. So they've just flogged this poor horse to death, which is their highlighter range, bringing out the same thing over and over, and then doing it in minis, and then, you know, it just boring, and totally lost the whole core of what Becca was as a brand and what actually made them successful in the first place. Honestly, the only people I can blame for Becca's demise are the company that bought them. They drove that brand into the ground. Also, one last thing I want to say about Becca. I felt like I was watching them go down in like a flaming pile of shit when they released that Becca Zero collection. Because I thought, yes, people do love no makeup, but they still want it to fucking do something. Like,
yeah, I almost feel like what they did there was they took the premise of what the brand originally was for, and then they just, like, they almost made a joke out of it. Like, oh, you like natural skin so much that we're just going to give you a silicone in a tube and so you can just see your natural skin. No, we want to look natural but still look perfected. So I feel like
your makeup to...
Yeah. To do something.
Yeah,
to
do something, exactly right.
They probably had been working on that for a little while, going, okay, this is going to be innovative. And as soon as it failed, they probably were like, we're going to start wrapping this shit up.
Yeah, we don't know what we're doing. we're gonna quit. Okay, let's talk about a brand that we'll say losing popularity, but for some of them it's a fall from grace, and this one in particular is a fall from grace. Let's talk about KVD Beauty.
Beauty.
Doing
no
good.
vegan anymore.
Wait, that's right. KV. Let's talk about that brand that nobody knows the name of because they change it so often. So this brand, look, this brand is not actually failing, but I feel like they are teetering. Being so closely linked to a creator or a face of the brand who then had a lot of controversy around them, that's always going to be damaging for the brand. There's always going to be people who remember that, and I honestly think that that is going to be their biggest customer base or previous customer base, because KVD was very widely like a sort of online influencer type brand, you know, like a lot of marketing driven via social media. So when Kat Von D did the things that she did, a lot of people saw it. I think it was really damaging to the brand, and I think for some people there will, like, you won't be able to, or the brand won't be able to redeem themselves no matter what. They're just going to be like, nah, you're dead to me. So I think there's going to be permanent damage done there anyway. But other aspects of this brand that just, oh God, I don't know what they were doing. Releasing the weirdest things, like a single gold pot product, random
they went off the rails.
cheek products. Yeah, they just went off the rails. And that was while Kat Von D was still a part of the brand. But even after she was gone, they were releasing rubbish. I feel like the only thing that they've released recently that has been popular was that apple balm, and the only reason it was popular was because it absolutely blew up on TikTok. I feel like the folks over at KVD Beauty don't know what they're doing. It literally feels chaotic when I look at it, especially with stuff like the brand name changes. The packaging changes, like the packaging.
Have you seen the font the logo change? It looks like they've just gone to their marketing department and just said, pick a font that works, and it's ugly. It's not even custom made. Bad. It's so rushed.
Yeah, I feel like there was too many cooks in the kitchen with the whole rebrand thing, and it doesn't feel cohesive. It feels chaotic, and yeah, it feels like people running around an office going, oh my God, the cash cow is on fire. So I really feel like the only way they're ever going to get back on their feet is if they actually have like a solid direction for the brand. And I feel like they don't have that yet.
In my notes, so we prepared these notes separately, so we're not like influencing each other. What I said was they need to actually rebrand. They need to do what Kylie, Marc Jacobs are currently doing, sell everything 50% off, get rid of all the stock, close the website, take some time to develop new products that are going to be interesting, actually find a direction they want the brand to go in, get a new logo that's just not a piece of shit font that they found on 1001fonts.com. So they actually need to do a proper rebrand. And the thing is, they could do it in such a way that people will disconnect Kat Von D from the brand if they pick something that's not mimicking what she stood for. Because now, when they did their most recent really rushed rebrand, they're like, we're inspired by tattoo artists. We're going to have a crew of tattoo artists that are going to be like our muse or some bullshit. And it's like, well, why can't you separate yourself from tattoo artists? It really doesn't have much to do with makeup anyway. And why not choose another alternative form of art to be inspired by? Like, one thing that I think would be awesome if they did like graffiti. Like street art related. Like, I can imagine really cool packaging. I can imagine really cool colors that could come out of that. Like, they can take the idea of what Kat Von D was 10 years ago and freshen it up to something that is related but completely different and has its own identity. Yes, you're going to lose some of your past customers, but you will gain more than who you're maintaining, if that makes sense. So, I think they can definitely still keep going, but they need a complete rebrand. And the shame that they've actually missed the opportunity to do the rebrand before they released that apple balm, because that foundation did go viral. They've just recently released a liquid sort of serum blush with the same old logo. They should have held off those products, which are completely new products and things that are quite trendy and that could go viral and be really interesting. They should have saved those just a few months, changed the packaging entirely and launched with those, because that would have spread their new brand far and wide and would have made people come back and try the brand. So I think they've missed that opportunity entirely with that apple balm. All right, next brand that is still popular but has been falling in popularity over the last 5 or so years is MAC. Now, MAC's a funny one because I actually don't have any notes here because I actually really like MAC, and I feel like a lot of what they do, like I was just trying to think about it before, and they are one of the few makeup artist brands that are still doing well. Think of it, Makeup Forever, no one talks about them anymore. Inglot, another one that recently closed, or not recently, but probably a couple of years ago closed a store in Melbourne, is Kryolan. So I feel like these makeup artist brands are closing or mainly becoming online at a really fast rate. So in that category, MAC is kicking goals if you think about it in that sort of term. I think in Melbourne, at least, they opened a new store a couple of years ago instead of closing stores. Pretty much all of Inglot Melbourne stores have closed. Yeah. So, I think the makeup artist brand was really popular, like at the start of the beauty community, like 10 years ago, because if you loved makeup, like the best makeup is the makeup that makeup artists buy. So they became like the holy grail of brands. And then I feel like consumer brands sort of started to take over in popularity, in quality, in innovation. So, so MAC is one of the few that's still floating, which I think is interesting. So the reason why a lot of people turned against MAC in the last few years is simply because they're not cruelty-free, because they sell in China, and there's a few other countries as well that requires animal testing to be sold there. Now, MAC will say until they're blue in the face that they don't test on animals, but because they give certain governments permission to test their products on animals when they're doing like random checks and audits and whatnot, safety checks, that is enough for the cruelty-free community to boycott MAC. And I feel like MAC became the scapegoat in terms of cruelty-free. I think there are a lot of brands that have done way worse things and actually do test on animals or use ingredients that were tested on animals, even though MAC never did. But MAC has been the whole, like, that's the thing that people think about when they think of a non-cruelty-free brand. So I feel like based on that reputation, there's not much MAC can do to fix that. If they could fix that, then they will go gangbusters in the community again. But I don't think there's anything they can really do, because even if they pull out of China, which they've been there, I looked it up, for 16 years now, so there's no way
not leaving
they'll
China.
be able to pull out of that market without taking... No.
China...
It's like a $30 billion market for makeup. There's
China's
no way.
Probably keeping MAC afloat more so than any other country in the world. I think where MAC falls flat for me is there's still a lot of repetition and not a whole lot of innovation. I feel like, occasionally they'll pick up a new product. One that comes to mind is like the Extra Dimension Extra Dimension blushes and highlighters, and they're sort of rolling with that. But now when they release new ones, I feel like they look quite similar to what's already in their back catalogue or what they've already released as like limited edition versions of it. And I think when they do innovate, most of it is only seen in limited edition collections. So, it's something you have to buy straight away to get it. You can't save up a few bucks and then go pick it up after a few months and, wait for reviews and have a think about whether you actually want to buy the product. And also MAC Underground. That's where we're also seeing sort of a little bit of innovation, but that is so limited and, only released in America, I believe. So I don't know. I don't think that's a smart business move.
I just wanted to interrupt quickly because I don't think the MAC Underground is even something that is of that much importance. They release like 1,000 items. It's not that big a deal. I do have to sort of agree and disagree with you though, because I feel like the things that MAC have been releasing recently in permanent collections have been actually really awesome additions to their range. It's just that it's not popular to talk about them, so no one really shares that it's a great product. Recently, their lipsticks, they've got like the Kiss Me lipstick, which is a really beautiful sort of sheer glossy beautiful lipstick. The Powder Kiss is really nice. The Liquid Powder Kiss is really nice. Those cream, like those cushiony blushes are really, really beautiful. So I feel like some of the stuff that they have been releasing in their permanent collections have been of like good quality. It's just that they push their limited edition collections a lot more than their permanent releases. And because MAC does have that stigma, people are too scared to talk about them, because I'm sure on this video we're going to be like, MAC kill bunnies. You get that everywhere. Whenever you talk about MAC, you get someone being like, MAC are the worst. I would buy from them if they didn't kill bunnies. And you're like, calm down, mate. They're not actually going there and like killing bunnies. China's killing bunnies. Go blame them. So, I feel like they are doing the right things in terms of bringing out quality products. I do agree that a lot of their innovation is in their limited edition collections. And what they need to do is when things sell out and get really good reviews, I don't know, I'm thinking of like if they've got a really nice eyeshadow formula, they should bring out more of those and make them permanent. Like learn from their limited edition collections and actually release what people are loving in a permanent way. So if you missed out or couldn't buy it at the time, you can come back a year later and it's still there. So I do feel like they try to create a lot of buzz through their limited edition collections, which I think can be really frustrating. And but I think MAC's, their main, another problem that they have that we experience in Australia, they're too expensive.
Oh, they are ridiculously expensive. $40 for a single eyeshadow? Are you high?
No, it's a little bit less than that now. I think they've dropped it down to like 30 or something.
Limited edition ones are 40. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, too expensive.
And their lipsticks are $30-something, aren't they? Yeah.
They were 36, I think, but they dropped them recently to 30. But it's a lot of money. That's too expensive.
I think it's too expensive. MAC definitely have some products that I love. They used to do this formula that was called a beauty powder. Oh my God. And this was going back before Hourglass had their like ambient lighting powders. So MAC used to do something similar to that and they were amazing. They were better than the Hourglass ones. They haven't released one in years. I think that's a crying shame. You know, they've had a lot of really nice formulas that they've gotten rid of or only had as limited products, and I think that's a shame. I think they need to like dip their toes back into that stuff.
I don't think in the Western world they're going to come back as big as they once were because of their reputation of being like the scapegoat for non-cruelty free brands. But I do think that if they dropped their prices a little bit and kept releasing sort of innovative, good quality products, there'll be people that buy them, no doubt. So I feel like they're still doing well in other markets. It's just that our market, there's a sort of stigma attached to them.
There is definitely, and that's going to be really hard to get rid of. Before we continue with this week's episode, we do have some sponsors. Everything we do for our cats is rooted in love. We always want what's best for them. Love is paying for a dental program and having regular checkups and cleans so our little floofs can keep all of their teeth. Issues which Kat and I have both experienced with our cats. So you might be able to imagine that keeping tabs on their health is super important to us. And Pretty Litter helps to expand on that. Pretty Litter is the best litter for your cat. It changes colours to help detect early signs of potential illness, including urinary tract infections and kidney issues. Litter box cleanup is easier with Pretty Litter as well. Its ultra-absorbent crystals trap odour instantly and last up to a month. Plus, Pretty Litter is safer for your cat and for the whole household. Many conventional litters contain irritants that can aggravate allergies and asthma, but Pretty Litter's super light crystal base minimizes mess and dust. Plus, Pretty Litter arrives safely at your door in a small lightweight bag. Shipping is free and you never have to worry about storing bulky containers or bags.
So after using Pretty Litter with my two cats in my apartment, my favorite things by far is the health indicator. I have a cat that is prone to bladder infections and she hides it really well. She won't tell us about it until it's at a point where we need to take her to the vet. So the health indicator is really, really great at letting me know what's going on with her. I also find the odor control is so much better than your standard kitty litter. The last thing I want to do is come home to an apartment that smells like cats.
Love is putting your cat's health first with Pretty Litter. Do what we did and make the switch today by visiting prettylitter.com and use promo code BEAUTYNEWS for 20% off your first order. That's prettylitter.com, promo code BEAUTYNEWS for 20% off. prettylitter.com, promo code BEAUTYNEWS. There are a lot of things in life that stink, whether we're talking literal or figurative, but you don't have to stink. Check out Native. Native cares about the products you put on your body. They're about stopping the stink the right way. That's the Native difference. You probably already know about Native's legendary aluminium-free deodorant, but have you tried their body wash, toothpaste, or their brand new mineral-based sunscreen? Yes, Native now has a broad spectrum SPF 30 sunscreen for your face and body. It's lightweight, absorbs quickly, and you can choose between unscented or coconut and pineapple. Native's on a mission to overhaul your entire hygiene routine by putting the care in self-care, with products carefully made to work against odor that are made with simple ingredients and smell great. You can get their deodorants and body washes in amazing scents like coconut and vanilla, citrus and herbal musk, lavender and rose, and many more. You can even build your own personalized product bundles, mix and match 3 of your favorite scents, and keep them on rotation so you have something for every occasion.
Kat here, and I'm still happily using my native deodorants. I think in a couple of months it's coming up to my 1-year anniversary of switching over to native deodorants as my only deodorant, which is crazy. I never thought I'd switch over to a natural deodorant, yet here I am. I'm currently using one of their limited edition scents from the holiday collection, but I am also eyeing off a couple of their summer scents. The 2 that I have my eye on, there's Surf and Sea Moss, and there's also Key Lime and Sugar. Now, I love aquatic scents. I love that sort of beachy smell, and I also love citrus. So those 2, I might have to place an order for very soon.
Stay fresh, stay clean with Native by going to nativedeo.com/beautynews or use promo code beautynews at checkout and get 20% off your first order. That's nativedeo.com/beautynews or use promo code beautynews at checkout for 20% off your first order.
Speaking of stigma attached, Urban Decay, the stigma is they're shit.
They are shit.
So
I've been saying it for years.
They are.
Thank you. I'm so fucking glad someone just validated what I've been saying for years. And everyone's like, they're not that bad. They're not that bad. They're okay. They used to be great. And they're not that bad. Shut up. They're shit. And they just proved it recently with that Prince collection. My gold.
Oh, yeah.
My gold.
That again, that's a nail in the coffin with that one. Look, okay, they're
shit.
Little disclaimer, they're not entirely shit. I have to say, lip products, never great. Face products, never great. The only things that they had sort of going for them were their eyeshadows. And I think in this current market, they're okay eyeshadows. They're usable, they're workable, they're sort of your entry into eyeshadows because they're not super pigmented, hard to blend, they're not super flaky, like they're your standard eyeshadow. Problem is though that for their price point, they're not good eyeshadows anymore.
They're not.
They were good 10 years ago, they're not good anymore. And also they've dropped their quality. I will swear that they've dropped their quality. For a lot of people who don't know, some people think Urban Decay is still an indie brand, which blows my mind.
It's owned by L'Oreal.
And that is when I feel like the innovation and the quality turned. And that is when you're seeing them flog a dead horse with the naked palettes. I really think that what Urban Decay need to do, and I just have in my notes in capital letters, up the quality. They need to reformulate everything, start again, and make eyeshadows and lipsticks and highlighters that are worth the price point that they sell for, because they are at a mid slightly higher range of price point and then not worth it anymore.
Quality,
so
in my
I still feel
opinion.
like I agree. Like you could buy the same thing from Elf and probably have a better time with it. So I really feel like what they need to do, they still have a good reputation in, I think, the general community. So if you're not in the beauty community deep in and know all the ins and outs and the dramas and all that kind of stuff, if you're just a makeup user, I feel like Urban Decay still has a really good reputation. Like, oh, you've got a naked palette, aren't you fancy? So I feel like that they can definitely glide through this sort of lull that they're having at the moment if they just focus more on quality instead of like releasing Prince collections and all this other stuff. They just need to focus on reformulating, making sure that their eyeshadows match the price point that they're selling them for, and that the colors are a lot more innovative than what they've been releasing recently. But they'll be fine because they have a good reputation.
Yes. So my notes were pretty much exactly the same as Kat's. They're shit. But I think that, like you said, it feels like their quality has gone downhill. Now, when L'Oreal purchased them, I don't know if they upped their other, like L'Oreal's other drugstore type quality up to Urban Decay's level of that time and then never improved it, or if they dumped Urban Decay's quality down to L'Oreal's level and also never improved it, but the quality is simply, like, it's not there. Out of a palette of, like, say 16 shades, there's like 2 or 3 good shades, and the rest are average and not worth their price tag. You can get this quality at the drugstore for a fraction of the price. And look, I know Wendy is still working on the brand in some capacity, who is the original owner and creator of Urban Decay, but it really feels like I don't know if she's lost like a lot of the creative control around it, but it kind of shows. Or maybe she's just not hip with the times of the makeup stuffs, because it feels stale.
She's probably in her like late 40s, early 50s now, I would say. So I feel like the problem is that, you know, as you get older, you become more conservative and boring. It's just a fact. So, you know, when she created Urban Decay and there's a lot of drug references and grunge references, that was when she was probably like a rebellious 20-year-old, not rich lady who sold out in her 50s. Like that is a different...
totally.
You know, you have a different perspective on life. So, of course, the innovation isn't there anymore. The freshness isn't there. And if you are trying to mimic the freshness from 30 years ago, it's probably a bit stale. Like, let's just be real. But not that it's not 30 years old. I think Urban Decay is 20 years old.
I think so.
They do a 20-year anniversary or something recently. Whatever. I do want to say though that I feel like some of their palettes are nice quality. Some of their naked palettes actually are. The problem is that even if they're nice quality, you can't get color variety because they're all the same shade. So you might buy a palette and go, oh, this applies really nicely and I like the looks, but do I get versatility out of the palette? No. Was it worth me spending 80 Australian dollars on it? No. So they just need to sort their shit out and make them a lot more interesting, better quality if you want to keep charging that price point. They need to reformulate
I think
everything.
Something else that's worth keeping in mind when we look at the really, really big companies, L'Oreal, Estee Lauder, stuff like that, because there are so many steps to like getting things done and finally getting them released, things take so much longer. It's not just a matter of sitting down and going concept, test, product testing, design, like off you go, released in 6 months or a year. For these big brands, it does take a couple of years. So I feel like no matter what they do, it's always going to feel a little bit stale, a little bit old, because by the time we see it, if they are inspired by something now, by the time we see it, it's pretty, like, it's boring. We've seen it before, and probably 5 or 6 other indie or smaller brands that have the ability to turn over quicker have already done it. So I honestly, look, selling your makeup brand to a massive company, not a bad idea if you want to make a few $1 million or a lot of $1 million in a shot, but it's not going to keep the brand revived and fresh. It will change, and it will probably change to the detriment of the brand. It is what it is.
Yeah.
All right, speaking of brands that were purchased by big companies and then you've changed bro happened, Too Faced. So Too Faced used to be very, very boudoir, sexy, female empowerment, all that stuff. And then Estee Lauder bought them and they became childish as fuck. Like the kid makeup level, like, just dribbled in over many, many years. So they were purchased in 2016 by Estee Lauder, and I feel like they've never been the same since. Now, the thing about Too Faced, I feel like sometimes they still hit the nail on the head with some of their releases. Like when they did that, I still dream about it. I've still got them back here, the little holiday mini liquid lipstick sets. They were so good. Love them. But then they also release really weird stuff like gigantic themed palettes, which I feel like they're cute. You can look at it and go, oh, that's really cute, but they are so bulky, they're not functional, and the quality is not usually great. I feel like Too Faced has gone way too far into kid makeup, expensive kid makeup territory. And if they don't start to grow up a bit, I don't think they're ever going to survive in this market, because I feel like their target market at the moment, they don't have the money to buy this shit and sustain the business over a long period of time, basically.
Yeah. My notes for this was, I said cute or sexy, pick one.
Yeah.
I feel like they are a bit confused at the moment with
kids and sex,
what they want their brand to be. Yeah, and so they make things that are cutesy but also sexy, and it's very uncomfortable in my opinion. And I feel like Jared is probably to blame to make things really cutesy, because I feel like on the teetering verge of when they're being bought, they release things like the chocolate bar palette, the peach palette, and they started getting into cutesy territory, and then all of a sudden they boomed. So I think they realize that cutesy sells more than sexy, which makes sense, because, you know, more people can buy or are interested in cutesy things than lingerie inspired things. So I think that was a business move, and they've sort of not known how to
balance it,
work both identities together. And I just feel like they need to pick one. But also, I said with Too Faced is, again, they need to focus less on the limited edition sort of kitsch, cutesy, themed makeup, which they love to do. And I know that sells, but at the same time, they don't put enough effort into the quality of those, so it's almost like you get people to buy it and then they're disappointed and they don't care about the rest of your collection. Whereas their permanent range is actually really, really good. I really like some of their bronzers. Their liquid lipsticks are some of my all-time favorites. I love the glitter glue. There's a whole bunch of stuff in their permanent range that are actually really, really good quality products, but people look at the fun limited edition collections, buy those, get disappointed, and they never touch them again. So I feel like they need to pull back on those limited edition collections and focus more on releasing some innovative, good quality things in their permanent collections that will keep customers there longer.
I agree with you. And something else I wanted to mention was with the cute and sexy, and trying to cross that over, when you're looking at fruit and vegetables or chocolate and things like that, and you're making them cute by putting little faces on them, that's cute. Like, there's a lot of people who can get behind that. The little, like, smiling peach, still cute, still enjoy, still would probably buy.
Also appropriate for, like, your 13-year-old, like, niece who's just getting into makeup. Like, that's appropriate.
But
a lingerie-inspired teddy bear palette, not as appropriate.
Not appropriate. No shame to the ladies out there who have their teddy bear sexy room, the sexy bear collection. But we mostly associate teddy bears with children, and it's weird. It's just weird. I don't think Too Faced will ever go back to their glory days unless they have some actual direction with the brand that is not childish and sexy. Okay, so this video is running longer than we expected, and we've still got heaps to get through, so we're going to do some quick, we're going to do a speed round basically with some brands that we have just a few things to mention. I'm going to start with Benefit. These guys don't create anything new. They are so repetitive with what they release. It's just like blushes. Just blushes all the time.
And mascara.
And like, then they try to innovate new brow products that are really just like brow products that they've released in the past that are ever so slightly tweaked. It's not exciting. I'm very sorry, Benefit. Some of the products you make are really nice, but it's not exciting. Also, their shade range is an absolute joke, and they refuse to adapt to the current climate of what people expect from a shade range. And as long as they choose to do that, they will never ever succeed in this industry. They won't. They will just meander along as little old Benefit that create the same crap all the time and have crappy shade ranges.
All right, next brand, Makeup Geek. And I just have a simple one-liner for this. I said, put in more effort, stop being fucking lazy.
Yeah. I said...
That's all I think about Makeup Geek.
Yes, I have to agree with you. I said go back to the drawing board with product development and stop creating like it's 2015, because it's not. They are boring and bland, and I just don't think they're on the pulse with what's popular.
No, but I also feel like Marlena, who's probably should have sold the brand years ago to someone that wanted to keep it going. She lost interest but wants to keep it going, just like in the background. She wants to have her toe in the water but not actually jump right in, and it shows. And I feel like what she's been doing after the rebrand, which was not a rebrand, it was just a new like palette design where you could put the pans in, like it was a packaging change. It wasn't even a fucking rebrand, but after this massive rebrand, they released the same things and the same quality of what they've had before, and then they've just recently re-released the same eyeliners that they discontinued, and there's nothing changed about them. They are stale, they are old, they are unloved, there is no passion in the brand, and pretty much they could do anything to fix that brand, because what they're doing now is nothing.
That's
it's
right.
Absolutely fucking nothing.
What they're doing now feels like one step below the bare minimum, and like you said, it just feels like nobody cares over there, but they keep releasing stuff and it shows. Okay, next I'm going to talk about NARS, because a lot of people mention this as a brand that they are bored of. They're like, what is this brand doing? I think the issue with NARS is that they are in their little bubble of products that they create, and they've got like a vibe about them. Now, I really like NARS. I think a lot of the products that they make are really, really nice, but because they're in their little bubble, they stick to the same types of products, and it doesn't feel like there's enough innovation each year to keep the brand exciting. And also, their repetition of usage of orgasm, it's gonna kill them. Like, that horse is dead and they are still trying to ride it. You have to draw a line. Like, sometimes too much of a good thing is like not a fucking good thing, and I feel like it stopped being a good thing quite a while ago, especially when they were doing whole collections around this color, orgasm, and it's in all of their blush palettes, and you know, they're bringing out multiple lip products, and it's just like, stop it. Can you not make another color, please? Because we're bored of it.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, but I also agree that I think NARS is an exceptionally formulated brand. I feel like everything I've been trying recently, I think there was a time where they were going a bit stale and they reformulated a lot of their products, and now they're really, really good. So they get along with my skin and everything really well. So I like NARS. I feel like that they have a bit of a MAC issue where in the last few years they started selling in China. They broke into the Asian market, and that's what took away their cruelty-free status, and a lot of people have turned against them because, like you were saying, I think the fact that they're not super fresh, they're not super trendy, they're more about quality over quantity, which I do like, but they aren't exciting enough, and they are fairly pricey. So I think if people had an excuse to turn their back on NARS, they took it, and them moving to the Asian market is what turned a lot of people against them, and they've never really addressed that. So I sort of feel like that they need to address that as a like a reputation thing, or I guess do they care? I don't know. They're probably like, we're making heaps of money over here, we don't care.
I don't think they care. I think now that they're in that market, they're going to be making really good money. I think also the people that do buy NARS, like us, we know how good the quality is, and we know that when we buy something, we're going to be happy with it, and we're not going to feel like it's a waste of money or it was too expensive for what it is, because the quality is there. Like, it feels like they really give a shit about the quality of the products. That cream bronzer that they released as a limited edition product recently, holy crap, that stuff is amazing. So I think I honestly think NARS is actually a lot more popular than people realize. I think the people that aren't excited by NARS are potentially the people who are excited by really bright colors and, you know, really, you know, fun artistic palettes and stuff. Whereas NARS is a bit more in the middle, where they're like, we're going to chuck in some colored eyeshadows, but they're a lot more muted and wearable. And you're going to pair them with like nudes and stuff to make a bit more of a dynamic, natural-ish makeup look. So I think NARS is in their bubble, and I think they're comfortable in there, but I think what they're doing in there is actually quite good in my personal experience.
Yeah, I think that's the difference between the beauty community's perception of something versus the reality of the situation, which I have seen a few people discuss online where, you know, people are like, oh, why was this so hyped, or why was this, or whatever. It's hyped in the beauty community bubble, but we're just a bubble, and a lot of people, like, trends happen throughout that bubble, and in the more recent years it has been indie makeup and, you know, really colourful eyeshadows and whatnot, and that's not what aligns with NARS. So I feel like it appears to, like, our audience and the bubble we're in that NARS is losing favour, but I think in reality they're still a really popular brand, and people keep going back to it because it is good quality, and, you know, they're the kind of products that I can use a concealer from start to finish and not feel like I've wasted my money because it went off, or I threw it out, or I just never used it. Like, it is actually, I like their product. So but I do think they need to address the cruelty-free situation, a more innovative sort of direction rather than just orgasm would be refreshing to see. Really quickly, we say that and then we just talk forever. Inglot. So Inglot, like we said at the start, it's a makeup artist brand, and again, it became really popular when there was a lot of build your own palettes. Like, that became like the cool thing to do. People started that with MAC, and then all of a sudden they're like, wait, Inglot's even better, let's do Inglot. So Inglot stores started popping up everywhere, and recently, at least in Australia, they've all been closing. So they are losing popularity big time. And I just think that the issue is that they're a makeup artist brand, and they've been catering to makeup artists, but they're also relying on consumer dollars to keep afloat. And I don't think they really can reconcile that very well with their direction that they go in, because recently they've been trying to release some boring palettes, thinking, oh, these are nice consumer basic palettes. But I think what the consumers would want to go to Inglot for is really awesome textures and finishes and cool colors. But really, if you look at their eyeshadow range, it is snooze fest. It's like shimmers and mattes, and they've got a hybrid sort of glitter formula that's like limited edition and occasionally there. And it's mainly just the makeup artist colors, which are various shades of browns and purples and pinks. So yeah, they've got a makeup artist view, but they need the consumer dollars. So I really feel like, again, they need to focus on quality and reinvent themselves with much better quality eyeshadows, because, like we said, similar to Urban Decay, they were really good 5 to 10 years ago. Not anymore. Technology has, and, you know, the ingredients and the formulations have got a lot better, and you can find basic brands that outperform Inglot these days.
I agree.
Like drugstore brands that can do it.
Yeah, that was one of my big notes, that their quality may have been good 10 years ago, but that was 10 years ago. I think their eyeshadows, a lot of them are just not great these days. They do these like multi-chrome loose pigments, and they did them way before multi-chromes were popular anywhere else in the industry. I have a whole stack of them back here. I love them. They're fantastic. Inglot have innovated at times, and they have made some nice products, but I feel like the disconnect between artistry and consumer, like that, I personally feel like brands kind of need to choose like one over the other, because if you're going to be an artistry brand, you're going to have this massive collection of products, and artists are going to cherry pick what they want to use to create a little core collection, and a consumer is just going to pick what they want and what's trendy for them. And I feel like when you're looking at like their palettes, their build your own palettes, while it used to be a very popular idea for consumers, now it's not. Most people don't want to buy big gigantic square pans of eyeshadows and put them in a build your own palette, because in 12 months you're going to be interested in different shades, and also their quality of eyeshadows, it's not that great. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like Inglot could potentially eventually completely fade out.
I think they'll fade out of like Australia and maybe the US, but because I think they're a Polish brand,
they are, yeah.
I feel like they're going to stay in Europe, and I think they'll still be quite popular in Europe. But I think they're going to be similar to Illamasqua, which is a UK brand, who sort of pulled all their international branches because they were downsizing, and now they're pretty much a UK exclusive brand that ships internationally. So I feel like that's what Inglot might end up doing, because, like you said, I think makeup artists can keep going back. They want, I want the same shade of nude. I want the same shade of white. I want the same shade of blah that I can refill and I know the formulation of, and I don't need it to be the most pigmented, buttery thing in the world. I feel like it's really suited to makeup artists, but in terms of your consumer that wants the next best thing, the next trendy thing, the next cool color story, the color story that looks like Melt's newest palette, you can't get it from Inglot, and they're just too behind. Yeah. They're just too behind.
Before we continue with this week's episode, we do have some more sponsors. Nobody likes being stuck in uncomfortable clothing all day. It's horrible. This is where Betabrand steps in. They combine customer experiences with their expertise to make thoughtfully designed clothing that's as functional, comfortable, and as inspiring as your favorite workout gear. Their customer favorite dress pant yoga pants are made of wrinkle-resistant stretch knit fabric, making them perfect for literally anything that you need to do. There are tons of different colors and styles to choose from, plus they have something to suit all style preferences. Obviously, you guys know that I work from home and comfort is king for me. There is no way I'm going to spend all day, every day in uncomfortable clothing. Betabrand dress pant yoga pants are just as comfortable as a pair of loungewear pants, but the upside is I don't look like I'm wearing pajamas when the postman delivers a parcel to my door, and I don't have to change my pants if I need to go to the shop for groceries. Women love these pants because they fit so well and feel great on, allowing you to be confident and comfortable as you get shit done. Right now, our listeners can get 30% off their first Betabrand order when you go to betabrand.com/beauty. That's 30% off your first order for a limited time at betabrand.com/beauty. Discover what it's like to be comfortable and confident all the time. Go to betabrand.com/beauty for 30% off. Ana Luisa's mission is to bring beautiful, stylish jewelry to consumers while maintaining sustainability and minimizing their impact on the environment. They offset their carbon emissions related to the product's life cycle, minimize excessive waste by creating limited batches, and use recycled materials where possible. Their range is diverse and features a great selection of timeless and fashionable items that are affordable while maintaining high quality and longevity of the pieces. Ana Luisa release new collections every Friday with pieces starting at just $39, plus they offer a 365-day warranty on all jewelry. So last time I mentioned that they had a ring called Hayley, spelt the same way as my name, which is not common at all. And of course I had to have it. I am pleased to announce that the ring now adorns my finger. It's gorgeous. My only concern with ordering was choosing the right ring size. Although I've been fitted for rings in the past, I can never actually remember what sizes suit what fingers. But the Ana Luisa website makes it really easy to help you size yourself, and the ring that I got fits perfectly. So I can confirm everything went to plan, and I'm really pleased with my purchase. Go to analuisa.com/beautynews and treat yourself and your loved ones. Use our code BEAUTYNEWS to get 10% off. I absolutely recommend them. They're a great brand making beautiful, sustainable jewelry. Go check out analuisa.com/beautynews, code BEAUTYNEWS. analuisa.com/beautynews, code BEAUTYNEWS. Okay, one that we want to touch on really quickly is ABH. Now, look, I don't think ABH has fallen out of popularity. I actually think what happened was the community got really annoyed at them when Norvina was like, here's a palette, here's a palette, here's a palette, here's a palette, here's a palette. And it was just like, can you stop it? That's too much. Not only are they desk-sized palettes a la Morphe, they're bloody expensive, and it's starting to feel like you just had like 120 eyeshadows that you really liked the colours of, so you chucked them all in palettes and gave them a theme. I actually think ABH make nice products. They're good quality, reasonably priced, and ABH on its own, prior to the Norvina releases, was releasing things pretty much seasonally, which felt like a really reasonable amount of time to release new collections. And I feel like people were really excited about them. So I feel like potentially what happened was there was a lot of excitement behind what ABH were releasing, and then all of a sudden we were like overwhelmed by Norvina throwing palettes at us, and we were like, where did she come from? Take her back.
Yeah. I do have on my notes for Norvina to step back. I don't think entirely. I think she's got interesting colour combinations that she likes. And I think she adds a little bit of freshness to what is a pretty standard brand. But I do agree. I think what they did wrong was that they were trying to copy the Colourpop fast fashion trend, which was release a new thing every week, every month, every second of the day. And I think the problem with that was they've got the wrong audience. Firstly, their price point is way too high for people to just, buy all their palettes. But also they built up a following, and you and I are both guilty of this, Hayley. They built up a following of people who are really, really excited for their seasonal releases and pretty much bought most of their releases because they really liked the quality. Generally, the color story was something different and innovative, but also quite wearable. So I feel like they sort of took advantage of people that were excited by the brand, and then they're like, yeah, and buy this, buy this, buy this. And then all of a sudden you're like, wait, hang on, I've just spent $500 on Anastasia Beverly Hills in the past 2 months. I feel like I've been ripped off a little bit and I'm not excited for this, and you've burnt me out. So I feel like that they're still recovering from that. That was like 2019, but they're still recovering from it. And I do think that they can do it. I feel like Norvina should not be the face of the brand. She wanted to make her offshoot brand Norvina by like ABH, which it's the same brand. Like, they're on the same website, they're on the same Instagram page. It's not a different brand. If she did create a different brand, fine. Create your own brand, do your own thing. But they're not. They're the same brand, so let's be real here. They need to go back to their seasonal releases, pare back, and have Norvina as someone to give some, creative control over some of the color stories and the products, but not be so in your face about it, because she was getting really frustrating. And I just feel like all of a sudden you had this brand that was known for high quality, their brow products, their highlighters, their contour palettes. They were known for sort of quality, and then all of a sudden you're being bombarded by what like Norvina thinks is cool, and it didn't work. It's jarring. They don't work together.
If the Norvina palettes had to be created, they should have been created as a separate brand. And I know that she like pumped them out so quickly to have them fill up a stand in Sephora, but for what? Like it so many people were put off by that. It put me off by that. Like, same. I know recently she announced another palette. I saw it online and I was like, nope. Never. But can I say, that palette looks like an extended version of the Norvina palette that Anastasia Beverly Hills originally released. Same color story, just repeated shades of it. I know.
So she doesn't even edit down her releases. People now have so much makeup that they're like, I don't want to buy Morphe-sized eyeshadow palettes. No. I want you to edit it down. And she's doing the opposite. So she's not actually doing any favors for the brand. Yeah,
I feel like there was... I think what happened was... I think the brand was thinking about selling. And I don't know if they still are or if something's in the works or whatever, but there was a time there where they were pumping out the collections. They did the Carly Bible and Jackie Aina palette releases so close together that people were almost like, let Jackie have her time to shine before we move on to Carly, and then let Carly have her time before we move on to the next one. I think shortly after
Norvina.
that, they had Norvina.
It was like 3 Norvina palettes in like a month.
Yeah, and it just felt like,
like
they
whiplash.
were like, quick, get out, go, like, you know, it's change of scene, quick.
Yeah.
And potentially they were doing that to like up sales so that they could then sell the brand for a higher price. I know that was being talked about, but honestly, I think that was more damaging to the brand, because I know it's left a bad taste in my mouth. I know a lot of people who watch us have also mentioned that they have burnout from that situation with ABH, and once you have burnout, there's no going back. You never forget it. I don't know what it is, but it's always there. So I think they just shot themselves in the foot.
We say this is going to be quick, and it's not.
It's not.
But speaking of fast fashion, Colourpop. So, look, we all know Colourpop. They are the fast fashion brand that's probably most well known. There's also other brands that fit into this category, like Makeup Revolution, BH Cosmetics. They're also sort of cheaper, more affordable range of makeup. Quality is all right, but not phenomenal, and they pump out new releases pretty much every week.
Yep.
So this model is very successful, which is why brands like Anastasia Beverly Hills were trying to mimic it, because you're getting people placing orders every other week, and you're just seeing the money roll in. So this was only suggested as a brand that was starting to lose favor just because they're getting annoying, not so much that they're losing money or they're failing as a brand. They're probably as popular as they've ever been, making as much money as they ever have. So this is more just a reputational thing that a lot of people in the beauty industry are feeling burnt out by them. So what would you say to Colourpop?
Look, I would actually say keep doing what you're doing, because it's obviously working. The reason why people like it's falling out of favor is, I think that is simply people with release fatigue, and unless they like completely stop looking at the new releases and buying the new releases, like that's never actually going to improve. But Colourpop are onto a good thing. Makeup Revolution are onto a good thing. I would actually say Makeup Revolution, stop fucking copying other brands. It's embarrassing, but
they haven't done that for a while, to be fair.
Yeah, they haven't. And I think
that's how they started, though.
That's how they started, and I think they got the memo that doesn't work, or people aren't as keen on that. I honestly, I don't think they're actually doing anything bad as a brand, because I don't think they're failing. I think when it comes to just why people aren't into it, it's actually the people. Like, the brands aren't going to stop releasing stuff. This is their shtick. This is what they do. Fast makeup. And there's always going to be new generations of people coming up who are excited by that. They will become fatigued by it, and they will stop being interested in it. And every year there's going to be a new generation of people who like go through the cycle. I think if Colourpop wanted to be taken super serious, well, I mean, they are taken seriously. They're massive. They manufacture for other people. I don't think what Colourpop is doing is broken. I think it is the consumers that are changing, and that's where
I think there's definitely. I think people are some people discover that, love that, and then they sort of phase out of it. I think where Colourpop will always be popular is, you know how you were saying with Urban Decay that because they're now sold to L'Oreal and they pretty much need to schedule things 2 years in advance, they're always behind. Whereas the Colourpop way they manufacture is very unique, and they can get things out really fast. So they're always going to hit the trendy color stories, the trendy formats. So they're always going to be on the pulse, and they're always going to be the fast fashion of makeup. So if you want, if it's trendy to wear neon orange, bet your bottom dollar that Colourpop will deliver to you before anyone else does. So I think they're always going to be popular. I think what I would like to see Colourpop do, and if they can, is again, rein it in a bit, focus more on upping the quality, because I do find their quality is to be hit and miss. I would prefer to spend an extra $1 per product and actually get something that's consistently good rather than half the lip products are good, half the lip products are horrible. So I feel like that they should look at upping the quality, but because they pump out so many products, I really also would love to see them switch over to eco-friendly packaging options. Go back to the cardboard packaging. Focus on recyclable stuff. I would like to see them be a little bit more forward thinking, because fast fashion and fast makeup is notorious for creating mass amounts of landfill, and I think a lot of people, that doesn't sit well with them, and that's why a lot of people not only they get tired of the constant releases, but then just the mass amounts of shit that they end up accumulating. So I feel like they should take a few steps to minimize that.
I think something else that we could tack on to that is the fact that the quality of the makeup isn't super great. So as people are buying bulk lots of it and it's sitting in drawers and eventually going bad, they're not using it, it's really going into landfill. Like, it's just masses and masses of crap, and because it's so cheap, people buy bulk lots of it, and you know, they're inspired by social media influencers and stuff, and they get all caught up in it, and they're like, oh, it's so cheap, and meh. And before you know it, you've got a whole collection of products going into the bin every year because you buy so much of it. I think if they upped their quality, they would actually find that some people who buy their stuff to try it out and then are like, no, they may stick around and pay a bit more attention to the collections rather than feeling super burnt out by it, because they'll be like, oh, I can't wait for them to release more of those lipstick shades in that particular formula that I love. Also, bring back the fucking lip glosses. The normal lip glosses. It's your best formula. Stop
Ultra
bringing
glossy
out
lips.
Yeah, stop bringing out those luxe glosses. They're bad.
Speaking of bad quality, let's just touch on Morphe. Morphe have lost popularity for a lot of reasons. I think some of their business practices a lot of people don't agree with. Some of the people they collaborated with has fallen out of favour. Think of Jeffree Star, James Charles, Jaclyn Hill. So all their big cash cows were falling from grace, and then all of a sudden the reputation of the brand was falling from grace as well, and they've had some what people would consider shoddy business practices as well. So I think this is another situation where what the beauty community sees and what the reality is very different. So I think in the beauty community bubble, people are like, Morphe is the worst. Whereas if you step out of that, and this is just like in my day-to-day life, I'll talk to people who wear makeup but aren't big into makeup. They love Morphe. They're like, I love Morphe. Morphe's the best. And so I feel like
let's go to that Morphe store.
Situation is yeah, let's go see Morphe. I love Morphe. Have you seen that new Morphe palette? It's cool. So, you know, I really think the reality of the situation is that Morphe is very popular, just not in the beauty community. And what I would say to them is like, keep doing what you're doing. You're clearly making money, but pull back from YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok influencers. That's what they're focusing at the moment. They're really pushing the TikTok influencers because they've burnt their bridges with YouTube and probably Instagrammers and whatnot. Yeah. I actually think, and this is going to sound like I'm a crazy person, I actually think that they should keep doing collaborations because that's where they make their money. And that's arguably where they make some of their best palettes as well, because their own palettes are really boring, but when they collaborate with someone, it generally has a little bit more of a personality behind it. Yeah. So still do your collaborations, but if you're not trying to target the beauty community anymore, which they shouldn't be, they should lean into reality TV stars, you know, stuff like people on soap operas, stuff like that, because I feel like those people are going to hit like your audience that still love you. Yeah, yeah, and I reckon they should just lean into it. Your Morphe
audience.
Just lean into it.
Yeah.
Look, your Morphe audience, lean into that.
I think the issue is within the influencer type community, so this community. Morphe are not loved, and a lot of the big influencers that they work with are also not loved, or they're simply not known. Like a lot of the TikTok influencers, that's still a very niche platform, and a lot of people who watch YouTube and who know who the big YouTubers are have no idea who the TikTokers are. No idea. They're like, what's a TikToker? It's very interesting to see how Morphe is sort of moving over there. But the issue with creating with people who have very large platforms, okay, the pro is the dollars are there. People are going to buy the crap to support the people that they love. But anyone who's on a pedestal can fall off. What goes up must come down. So, and I feel like the way that that's happening in this day and age is they are being shoved off their pedestals into a raging crowd with pitchforks, which just looks bad for Morphe. Every time something goes wrong, they take the influencer off their website and they're like, we don't know them. And it's just like, okay, yeah, like, do you want to throw me under the bus then? The Morphe are like high school kids. I don't know her. She's not our friend anymore. She can't sit with us. We don't like her. So, yeah.
I think they should definitely continue collaborating, but I think the way to combat the falls from grace is to not make everything permanent. They release something and then let's release it around 2 and let's do around 3 and let's really push it. Do your collection, have it up for a year, move on to another one, and then if there's a fall from grace, you're not stocking them anymore anyway, who gives a shit? But I have to say, wouldn't you love to buy a Morphe palette in collaboration with a Real Housewife of Melbourne? I would do it.
Sure.
I'm not going to be ashamed to say I would buy one. So
as long as it's not
I feel
this
like that's where they need to go.
big. I don't want a giant one.
That's true.
I want a normal sized palette, and
I want a gamble palette.
Oh, sure, yes. Yes. Yeah, look, I think Morphe are going to continue to make their money. I do like to see how Morphe adapt, because it actually surprises me that they have managed to stay alive this long, even with all the people with their pitchforks. But, yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they go, basically.
All right, speaking of pitchforks, let's end with a couple of controversial falls from grace. Are we going to lump them together, or are we going to separate them?
Look, let's mention all of them.
You start. You go.
Okay.
You go. You good thing.
We've got 3 brands that we want to talk about here. We've got Jeffree Star Cosmetics, Jaclyn Hill Cosmetics, and Huda Beauty. I reckon we touch on Huda Beauty very quickly because it's quite different to what we've got going on with Jeff and Jack. So we've lumped these 3 together because there's basically like a strong face behind the brand. It's kind of like influencer driven, essentially. So Huda Beauty, look, I think my issue with Huda, and I don't know what everyone else's issue is with Huda, but when we did a poll on this, Huda was mentioned a lot as a brand that people are annoyed with, and I get it. I'm annoyed too, because she'll release like, here's a collection of palettes in 3 different colour stories or 12 different colour stories. And here's my face on every motherfucking thing that I release. And also here's a description for a basic ass product that makes it sound like the second coming of Jesus. That's my issue with Huda. I feel like she needs to step back from the brand and stop putting her face on stuff because it's obnoxious as shit. And just let the products speak for themselves, because for the most part, they're not that bad. My other issue with Huda, and this is a big issue, the price. I get stuffed. Her stuff is so horrendously overpriced. Like, I can't bring myself to buy any of it because it's ridiculous. So
it's
expensive. No.
Yeah. I agree with you, and that's pretty much the notes I have as well, is that she needs to step back a little bit, not from the brand. She can totally have creative control over the brand.
Yeah.
Your name is on the products. Your face doesn't need to be on it. There's no, where's Laura Mercier's face on her products? Where is Bobbi Brown, who left years ago, but where's Bobbi Brown's face? Like, all these people that have brands, they don't put their face on their palette because you've got your name on there. We know you're behind it. It's fine. I agree with you. I feel like she should treat her brand as its own entity that can survive and thrive Like, you have a baby, you raise it, and you let it go into the world. You don't need to hover on top of it every moment of the day being like, remember, it's my baby. Like, we know that it's your brand. It's actually detrimental. It's detrimental to you to have your face on everything.
Yeah, it does feel like that.
But it's true, though.
Feels like that, yeah. Yeah, it is. It's true.
Yeah, I don't actually think she's creating products to make good products anymore. I feel like she's doing it to stroke her ego. Yeah. And she needs to step back from that, create good products, let them speak for themselves. Because like you said, majority of them are pretty good. I totally agree with you. Cut the price by like at least a third, because it is horrendously overpriced for what it is, but the products are not bad. My criticism is always, it's not bad, but would I pay $110 for that palette? No, it's worth $70. So that's what I think they should do. Cut the prices and take the faces off things, because fuck man, we know who you are. Calm the fuck down.
Okay, let's move into the Jefferson and the Jack attack. I don't think we need to explain...
These are hard ones, aren't they?
Yeah, these are hard ones. I don't think we need to explain why these brands are seen the way that they're seen. I think you guys, you know. And if you don't, then it's probably better if you go and do some research on it, because that's a whole video in itself.
Yep. There's plenty of videos.
Yep. Yes, there's so many. Okay, I'm going to start with Jeffree Star. I actually don't think that there's anything that I could suggest, or there's nothing that I can really think of that would fix his brand. There's three types of people who buy Jeffree Star Cosmetics. Well, or don't buy them. His fans, they don't give a shit what he does. Doesn't matter. They love him. They're going to buy his stuff anyway. Then we've got people who, like, were his fans who stopped buying his makeup, or they were never his fans and never bought his makeup, and that's because they don't like him as a person. Then we have people who don't even know who Jeffree Star is, and they're eventually going to come across his stuff and buy it, or they've recently come across it, or they've come across it in the past and they buy it, and they don't give a shit about who he is as a person. I don't think there's any getting back the people that don't like him. That ship has sailed. The negative stuff that goes on around Jeffree Star has been going on for way, way, way too many years for that to be repairable. He would have to be an angel for the rest of his life for many of those people to actually forgive him properly. When it comes to the things that he's releasing, the reason, putting aside that I'm not going to buy his stuff because I don't really think he's a good person, the products themselves are weird. I feel like they're taking on a Morphe level of redundancy. Like, the Orgy palette. For starters, I don't want to see fucking naked bodies on my palette. I don't. It's gross. Yuck.
Especially not Jeffree Stars.
I want to see naked... Yeah, I want to see naked bodies in my bedroom, and that's it. Not on makeup palettes. It's not something that I'm interested in. But then when you open up the palette, it was like 50 shades of brown. White moving into brown. Yeah, matte.
And they're all matte. It was ridiculous.
And the same thing with the Chromation palette. Probably not. Released at a very bad time, by the way. Bad timing. Also, when we look at things like the liquid lipsticks, which the formula is so hit and miss. He had the lip liners, which he went back to the drawing board with and reformulated. The lipsticks that he also reformulated after literally carrying on online about how amazing his quality is and blah, 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 it's the best thing ever. Like, the audacity and the ego is just over the top. And then you can't even follow it up with the products because eventually you have to reformulate because they're not doing well. They're not selling. So, I actually don't see a way to fix Jeffree Star Cosmetics.
I've got some notes, but it doesn't sit well with me being like, this is how I'd fix your brand. Not that he's watching this and not that he would take my notes on board anyway, but I feel like if Jeffree Star Cosmetics wanted to continue, he needs to check his ego a little bit. I feel like what he's done is, okay, yes, there's a Huda complex there where he's like, I'm the god, I'm going to put myself everywhere. And some people lap that up and love that. I don't think Huda has that level of fandom where everyone's like, oh my God, she looks so hot on that palette, I can't wait to buy it. Whereas Jeffree Star actually has people that are excited to see him on things. So I feel like what happened, and you're talking about the Orgy palette, which was the most boring, ridiculous palette I've seen for like 5 years. I feel like he became lazy and took his audience for granted. He knew that all his collections were going to sell out within an hour. He knew that he could make millions of units. He knows that Morphe will kiss his ass, so he stocks them in their store. He became too egotistical, and he needs to get over that, because that's past. It's not going to happen anymore. People don't care about you as much as they once did. But he still has a core group of fans that love him no matter what he does, no matter what controversy he goes through. So I feel like what he needs to do is pare down, like focus on tens of thousands of units, not millions of units, and focus on innovative, interesting color stories, good quality products. I don't really like his quality. I never really understood the hype about it. I thought it was quite average at best. But at least he did have some interesting color stories at the start. Like I'm thinking of the red palette, the blue palette. They were interesting at the time. So he's got it in him to create interesting concepts and themes. And he's good at designing packaging that is quite unique and quite extravagant. There is a market for that. And there is a market that his fans will still buy them. So I think he should just not like stop being lazy, stop going like, oh, I can do an all fucking brown palette with one finish and everyone's gonna buy it because they love me. No. Doesn't happen anymore. You actually need to stop being like Marlena from Makeup Geek. Stop being lazy, start being more innovative, and just focus on your niche, because he was trying to like conquer the makeup world. You're not gonna do it. You failed at that. So go back to paying lip service to your fans and delivering things to your fans, and you can still make an income from your cosmetics line. But if he keeps releasing the shit that he's been releasing over the last year or so, he's gonna kill it. And there's no way he can disconnect himself from that brand because he's so entrenched with it, similar to Kat Von D. So unless he wants to totally rebrand and take himself off it and struggle like Kat Von D's doing, or KVD Beauty's doing at the moment, I still feel like that will alienate his fans and will only capture that third group that you're talking about of the people that have just come across it. So he may as well just turn back into like an indie brand, like a Melt Cosmetics, and really focus on creating some innovative packaging, themes, color stories that Melt do, for example.
I think that's a brand that is interesting to keep an eye on. I think it'll be interesting to see where it goes over the next few years, but I don't think we will ever see an announcement that Jeffree Star Cosmetics is going out of business. If it ever does, I think what we will see is a very, very quiet, like, dip out the side door, basically. Yeah.
He would be too proud to admit that he's failed. I think he would throw everything at trying to keep it afloat just to keep his ego going. Yeah, I agree. Jack Attack, or Jaclyn Cosmetics, is sort of similar. Yes. She's probably not hated as much as Jeffree Star, but also she's had a lot of fumbles with her brand. So her first release of the nude lipsticks was an absolute shit show. There were like messed up tubes and foreign objects in them, and it was just, the quality control was really bad. And it's hard though, because she's come back with highlighters, she's come back with base products. She's come out with blushes. She's sort of keeps going, which I don't like her, but I give her credit for being stubborn and persisting, because a lot of people would have crumbled with her first release. I have to say that I think her brand will be successful if she keeps going the way she's going, just because
Yes.
for some reason, okay, she's persistent, and I think often persistence pays out above many other things, but also I feel like she's very good at dodging blame. She's been part of so many dramas, whether it's Becca, whether it's, you know, whoever. She's a makeup geek. There was a drama there as well. There's a whole bunch of dramas, and she definitely Morphe, multiple dramas there, and she just sort of like skirts them. Like a lot of people don't like her, and they're like, oh, she's
like one of those little crabs.
Yeah, she's just like skip that one. I'm just going to be off the computer for a while, but don't mind me. I'm just in my mansion. I'm just having fun over here. I feel like she's very good at dodging sort of responsibility, and she does a lot of like apologies that some people buy, a lot of people don't. She also has now a reputation that she only creates content when she's trying to sell things. So overall, she's not viewed as a very well-loved influencer, but she still has an audience that loves her who she was and will still support her. And I think also because she's not plastering her face all over her products, when she's in Ulta, I think there's going to be people that have no idea who Jaclyn Cosmetics is and doesn't really care. Oh, yeah. But they swatch the products and like, that's a pretty highlighter. Thank you. So I feel like her price point, her quality is good enough that if she just keeps going, she's going to be fine.
I think I agree with you, actually. I think that's a fair statement to make. When I think about Jaclyn and I think about Lipstick Gate and where the products are now that she's releasing, I feel like, I don't know if this is true, but this is my theory. The lipsticks were just Jaclyn. It was just Jaclyn having them manufactured and doing all of the stuff. And the quality control was just not there. I think at some stage in the middle here, between like this and what's been released lately, like the blush duos and
liquid lipsticks and
stuff,
blah, blah, blah.
The stuff that's coming out recently. I think former brands either purchased Jaclyn Hill Cosmetics or purchased part of it or invested or something, because you can now see the difference between the quality and obviously you can very easily find out that Jaclyn Hill Cosmetics is now under former brands and they own Morphe. So, and I feel like you can almost see a little hint of the Morphe-esqueness within what's being created with Jaclyn Cosmetics now. I think because the brand is under that company umbrella, they'll be fine.
Yeah, I agree.
They'll be fine. There's big money there.
Big money to back her up and cushion her, and also a lot of probably connections and influence to get into stores and do all that kind of stuff. So yeah, she just needs to keep her nose clean and keep releasing stuff, and you know, people are going to buy it, whether they're fans of her or just see it as being another, like, I don't know who Bobbi Brown is, I don't know who Jaclyn Hill is, who cares? Let's just buy the products because they feel nice when I swatch them in store. Yeah. So that's where I think Huda should do.
There'll always be that market.
Yeah, Huda should do that as well. Huda should be like, let the products speak for themselves.
All right, guys. So that is it for this episode of
whatever we call it.
Let's just call it Wine Time for now until we come up with something. We do hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to let us know down in the comments if any of these brands, if something we said really resonated with you, if you had something else that you would tack on that was maybe a point that we totally missed, or if you think that there is another brand that's going to be like the next one that goes bust. Let us know down in the comments. We will have one of these videos up every month.
Yay!
So there you go. If you're enjoying it, good, because there's more coming.
And if you have suggestions for topics for us to discuss, leave them in the comments as well, because we have been gathering them.
All right, guys. So we're going to leave it there. Give it a thumbs up, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.